Alright folks, well you might recognise this from yesterday, and we're going to make a bowl out of it. So when I snap my fingers, I'm going to have drilled a lot of holes in here. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. And there we go. That's 136 holes total. Quite a lot of holes. So let's see if we can make something awesome out of this. Alrighty folks, welcome back to the channel. Thanks to all my new subscribers for coming over. And today on the lathe, as I've just said, we have a piece of sycamore that you might recognise from yesterday's video. Don't know whether you want to call it a fail. Yeah, it was a fail yesterday. And today I modified my jig. Well, I completely remade my jig for drilling holes. Now hopefully it's going to be a lot more accurate, but I didn't want to do the cog today, the new cog, just for my own sanity really. I thought I'd have a day off from the spirograph project, so we're going to try and make something funky out of this piece of sycamore. So I lied to you, there's 137 holes, counting the one in the middle. And this was some pretty interesting turning. I'm cutting more air than wood, so I just had to go steady. But it wasn't too bad. I thought about turning it up to full speed to make life easier, but every time I turn it up to 2300 RPM, it scares the life out of me, so I turned it back down again. I didn't really fancy exploding it all over the workshop. So we're turning at 1400 RPM. With the 4040 grind bowl gouge. Now this piece was maybe 2 1/4 inches thick, so there's not a lot of wood to play with in terms of shaping and making an interesting bowl, but we did our best. A couple of contours, and just about had enough wood to put a little base on it. So it was quite grabby, turning through the big holes. I had to put quite a lot of downward pressure on the tool rest. And we're on to the sanding, which didn't take very long. And I sanded this all the way up to 1000 grit. Again, I didn't use any sanding paste because it just would have gone in the holes and not where I wanted. So we just did a shine juice finish. And it's the time of the show where we get to have a look at some of your fantastic work. And these images are sent in by Gary Garrett. And we've got loads of woods. We've got hackberry, we've got red oak, we've got spalted maple, aromatic cedar, and bodark, or Osage orange, as some people call it. And there's some fantastic stuff here. That's the one with the melted crayons and epoxy rim. Something I've yet to do, the old melted crayons. It's beautiful work, Gary. Thanks very much for sending it in. And if you'd like your work to be featured on the show, you can send your images to willmakeseverything@gmail.com. Alrighty, so we're on to the hollowing. Not much hollowing to do. It was just a case of how thin do I try and make this thing without it flying apart on me. And I was feeling brave, so the rim of this is about 3/16 of an inch thick. And it tapers down to, in the centre, it's probably 5/8 of an inch thick. Again, it was a little bit grabby, so a firm hand required. So at this point it was going to be a bowl with a 10mm hole in the middle, and then I had the brainwave of thinking about trying to make it into a lampshade. At this point I couldn't remember how thick I'd made the mortise on the back, so I was just going slow and steady, making sure I didn't break through. And there we are, down to final depth. So, time for one more hole. That's the same 35, same force and a bit as I used to drill the rest of the holes. And again, very slow and steady, because I'm drilling through into my chuck. And then I sanded the inside to 1000 grit. And trying to put shine juice on this was just destroying the paper towel. It's flying everywhere. But we managed it. And then it was a case of, as best as possible, finishing the inside of those holes with some shine juice. And I did sandpaper the insides of the holes to 240 grit, just to take off any rough edges. I will be honest with you, I didn't put any sandpaper inside the 104 tiny holes on the outside, because that would have destroyed my sanity somewhat. And here we are, the Glamour Shots, as ever. Now, for something that was a piece of scrap, I think that's turned out pretty cool. It's the first one of its type that I've done like this. And I don't say this very often, but this is for sale. If somebody wants to either have it as a bowl, like it is, then obviously I'll leave it like that. If you stay for the last pictures on the end of this, I'll show you what it looks like as a lampshade. And if somebody does want it as a lampshade, I'll glue a metal ring on the back side, on that side there, so that it can sit on your lamp fitting. Yeah, let me know on Facebook if you fancy it. It's currently up in my bedroom, as I didn't have a lampshade, and it looks fantastic. There we go. So, thanks for everybody for following along and watching the video. If you've enjoyed it, then consider subscribing and hitting the like button and all that good stuff. And I'll see you on tomorrow's video, where we're going to make, hopefully for the last time, a cog. Yeah, never say never. Right, take it easy, folks. Cheers.